The black SUV hit the water like a stone dropped into glass. No hesitation, no brake lights, just gravity and momentum carrying it straight off the embankment into the Riverside Canal. Rain poured sideways, turning the street into a river, and for 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Then Lena Carter was running. She didn't think, didn't plan. One moment she was standing under the bus shelter with groceries getting soaked through the bag. The next she was sprinting toward the guardrail, her sneakers skidding on wet asphalt. The SUV was already half submerged, nose down, water pouring through the cracked windshield. Inside she could see movement, small, frantic, trapped. Lena jumped. The cold hit like a fist to the chest, stealing her breath, but she kicked forward, reaching the vehicle as it tilted further into the current. Through the rear window she saw him. A boy, maybe 8 years old, seatbelt locked across his chest, head lolling, water rising past his chin. She didn't have tools, didn't have time. She slammed her elbow into the glass once, twice, felt something crack, not sure if it was the window or her arm, and on the third hit the glass spider-webbed and gave way. She pulled him out, dead weight in her arms. His lips were blue. She got him to the bank, laid him flat, started compressions. 30 and 2. 30 and 2. Water came up. He coughed. He breathed. Then the sirens arrived. Hands up! Don't move! Lena looked up, rain streaming into her eyes, her hand still on the boy's chest. An officer was walking toward her, weapon drawn, shouting commands she couldn't process because nothing made sense. She'd just saved a life. The boy was breathing. Why was he pointing a gun at her? "I'm a nurse," she said, voice hoarse. "He was drowning. I said hands up." She raised them, slowly, shaking. And in front of a growing crowd, in front of the boy's father, who'd just pulled up screaming his son's name, Lena Carter was forced to the ground, zip-tied, and arrested. The hero became the suspect in 90 seconds flat. Before we dive into what happened next, if you want to see how far this story reaches, drop a comment with the city you're watching from. And if you're here for the whole truth, stay until the end. You won't believe where this goes. Lena had been a nurse for 11 years, and she'd learned early that gratitude was optional. People didn't thank you for starting an IV on the 3rd try or catching a medication error at 2 in the morning. They didn't thank you for double-checking their discharge instructions or staying 20 minutes past shift to make sure the confused elderly woman had someone to pick her up. You did the work because it needed doing, not because anyone would notice. But this was different. She sat in the back of the patrol car, hands cuffed behind her, water dripping from her hair onto the vinyl seat. Her elbow throbbed where she'd smashed the window. Her ribs ached from compressions. Outside, paramedics were loading the boy into an ambulance, and she could see his father pacing beside it, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing wildly. He kept looking toward the patrol car, not with gratitude, with confusion, maybe anger. She couldn't tell. The officer who'd cuffed her, nameplate read Grimes, was leaning against the hood, talking to his partner. He hadn't asked her a single question, hadn't checked if she was injured, hadn't even acknowledged that a child was alive because of what she'd done. Lena's head fell back against the seat. She was too tired to be angry yet. That would come later. The door opened. Grimes slid into the driver's seat, glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "You always jump into canals in the middle of a storm?" She blinked. "There was a kid in the car." "Yeah, I saw. He started the engine. Doesn't explain why you broke the window." "He was drowning." "Uh-huh." Grimes pulled into traffic, wipers beating a frantic rhythm against the windshield. "You a lifeguard or something?" "I'm a nurse." "That right?" He didn't sound impressed. "You got ID on you?" "It's in my bag, on the sidewalk, where I dropped it." "Convenient." Lena closed her eyes. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. She'd worked a 12-hour shift at Mercy General, picked up groceries, waited for a bus that never came, and then watched a car go into the water. Everything after that was instinct, muscle memory. The same thing she'd do if someone coded in the ER. You didn't wait for permission. You acted. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Central booking." Her eyes snapped open. "For what?" "Tampering with a vehicle, reckless endangerment. We'll see what else sticks." "I saved his life." Grimes met her eyes in the mirror. "That's not how it looks from where I'm sitting." Central booking smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Lena was processed by a woman who barely looked at her, printed, photographed, and led to a holding cell that already had two other women in it. One was asleep on the bench. The other was pacing, muttering to herself in a language Lena didn't recognize. She sat in the corner, arms wrapped around her knees, and tried to make sense of the last 2 hours. The boy was alive. That part was real. Everything else felt like someone had taken her life and shaken it until nothing fit together anymore. A guard appeared at the bars. "Carter, you got a phone call." She stood, followed him to a row of payphones bolted to the wall, picked up the receiver. "Lena?" It was her sister. Maya, voice tight with panic. "I'm okay," Lena said automatically. "You're arrested." "How is that okay?" Maya, I don't know what happened. There was a car in the water, and I pulled a kid out, and then I saw the video." Lena froze. "What video?" "Someone filmed it. You pulling him out, doing CPR, the cop cuffing you. It's everywhere, Lena. Twitter, Facebook, the news. People are losing their minds." "I don't understand." "They arrested you for saving a kid on camera. It looks—" Maya's voice cracked. "It looks really bad." Lena leaned her forehead against the cold concrete wall. "Is he okay? The boy?" "He's fine. He's at the hospital. His mom's with him." "Good." She exhaled slowly. "That's good. Lena, you need a lawyer." "I didn't do anything wrong." "That's exactly why you need a lawyer." The public defender showed up 6 hours later. His name was Eric Patel, and he looked about 12 years old. He set a briefcase on the table between them, flipped it open, pulled out a tablet. "Okay," he said. "Let's talk about what happened." Lena walked him through it. The crash, the canal, the boy, the window, the arrest. He listened without interrupting, tapping notes on the screen. When she finished, he sat back. "You're a nurse?" "Yes." "At Mercy General?" "For 8 years." "Good Samaritan laws should cover you. You had reasonable belief the child was in immediate danger. You acted within your training, and you didn't accept compensation. Pretty textbook." "Then why am I here?" Patel glanced at the tablet. "Officer Grimes has a history." "What kind of history?" 7 complaints in 4 years, excessive force, false arrest, 2 settlements, nothing stuck." He looked up. "But you're different." "How?" "You're on video, and the video's gone viral. 500,000 views in 6 hours. People are angry, Ms. Carter. Really angry. I don't want people to be angry. I just want to go home." "You will. Arraignments in the morning. I'll push for release on recognizance. You're not a flight risk. You've got steady employment, no priors. Judge will cut you loose." "And then what?" "Then we fight it." Patel closed the briefcase. "But fair warning, this isn't just about you anymore. This is about every nurse, every paramedic, every person who's ever stopped to help someone in trouble. If they can arrest you for this, they can arrest anyone." The arraignment was a blur. Lena stood in an orange jumpsuit in front of a judge who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Patel argued for her release. The prosecutor, a tired-looking woman with a stack of files, didn't push back. The judge set bail at $5,000 and told Lena not to leave the state. Maya was waiting outside the courthouse with a check already written. "Don't," Lena said. "Shut up." Maya handed it to the clerk. "You're not staying in there another night." 20 minutes later, they were in Maya's car, pulling out of the parking lot. Lena stared out the window at the rain, which hadn't stopped since yesterday. Everything felt surreal, distant, like she was watching her own life from the outside. "You should see the comments," Maya said. "I don't want to." "People are calling for Grimes to be fired. There's a petition, 20,000 signatures already." "Maya, there's also people saying you assaulted the car, that you should have waited for professionals, that you endangered the kid by moving him." Lena laughed. It came out bitter. "He was underwater." "I know." Maya's hands tightened on the wheel. "I'm just telling you what's out there." They drove in silence for a while. Then Maya pulled into a gas station, parked under the awning. "I need you to do something for me," she said. "What?" "Talk to a real lawyer, not the public defender. Someone who knows civil rights." I can't afford—" "There's a guy, Jared Russo. He called me this morning, said he saw the video and wants to help." Lena frowned. Help how? He thinks you've got a case against Grimes, against the department. He said what happened to you was a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, and he wants to sue. I don't want to sue anyone. I just want this to go away. Maya turned to face her. It's not going to go away, Lena. You're all over the news. You're a symbol now. And if you don't stand up for yourself, they're going to bury you. I'm not a symbol. I'm a nurse who pulled a kid out of the water. Exactly. And they arrested you for it. So either you fight back or you let them win. Jared Russo's office was in a converted warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. He met them at the door, mid-40s, sharp suit, expensive watch, and led them to a conference room with a view of the river. Ms. Carter. He shook her hand. Thank you for coming. I'm not sure why I'm here. Because what happened to you was wrong, and I want to make it right. He pulled up the video on a flat screen mounted to the wall. Lena had avoided watching it until now, but there was no escaping it anymore. She saw herself running toward the canal, saw herself dive in, saw the struggle with the window, the moment she pulled the boy free, the compressions on the bank. And then she saw Grimes approach, weapon drawn, shouting, saw herself raise her hands, saw the cuffs go on. The video ended. Russo turned to face her. That's a textbook false arrest. You violated no law. You endangered no one. You saved a life. And Officer Grimes detained you without probable cause, without investigation, and without regard for your rights. He said I tampered with the vehicle. Breaking a window to save a drowning child isn't tampering, it's necessity. Any first-year law student could argue that. Russo sat on the edge of the table. But here's the thing, Grimes has done this before. Not exactly this, but close. He's got a pattern, excessive force, unlawful detention. And the department's been covering for him. How do you know that? Because I sued them 3 years ago. Different officer, same pattern. We won, big settlement, and they promised reforms. He gestured at the screen. Clearly, they didn't follow through. Lena looked at Maya, who nodded. What do you want from me? Lena asked. I want to represent you, file a federal civil rights lawsuit, hold Grimes accountable, hold the department accountable, and make sure this doesn't happen to the next person who tries to do the right thing. I don't care about money. Good, because this isn't about money, it's about justice. Russo leaned forward. But I'll be honest with you, Ms. Carter. They're going to come at you hard. They'll dig into your past. They'll try to discredit you. They'll make you wish you'd just kept walking. I couldn't keep walking. I know, he smiled, just slightly. That's why we're going to win. What? The lawsuit was filed 4 days later. The news broke within the hour, and the backlash was immediate. The police union released a statement defending Grimes, calling the lawsuit baseless and an attack on law enforcement. The mayor's office issued a carefully worded response expressing support for both the officer and the victim, without naming either. Lena went back to work at Mercy General, and for the first week, people were kind. Coworkers brought her coffee. Patients recognized her from the news. One elderly man held her hand and told her she was a hero. But by the second week, things started to shift. Her supervisor called her into the office. Dr. Helen Voss, 50-something, steel gray hair, zero tolerance for drama. Sit, Voss said. Lena sat. I'm not going to pretend I don't know what's happening. You're all over the news. You're suing the police. And now I've got administrators breathing down my neck asking if you're a liability. I'm doing my job. I know you are. But perception matters. And right now, there's a perception that you're, Voss hesitated, a troublemaker. Lena felt something cold settle in her chest. I saved a kid. I know. And I got arrested for it. I know. So what am I supposed to do? Apologize? Voss sighed. I'm on your side, Lena. I really am. But I need you to keep your head down. No interviews, no social media. Just come in, do your shift, and go home. That's what I've been doing. Good. Keep doing it. But keeping her head down didn't stop the pressure. A week later, she got called in again. This time it was HR. A man named Dennis Carr, who smiled too much and had a file folder with her name on it. Ms. Carter, we've received some concerns. What kind of concerns? About your conduct on the night of the incident. Lena stared at him. You're joking. I'm not. We've been asked to review whether your actions violated hospital protocol. I wasn't on hospital property. No, but you identified yourself as a nurse. That reflects on Mercy General. I am a nurse. Carr opened the folder. There's also the matter of the arrest. Some board members feel that your legal situation creates a conflict of interest. A conflict with what? With the hospital's relationship with local law enforcement. We work closely with the police. Ambulance coordination. Emergency response. If I'm suing them, it's because they violated my rights. I understand, but optics matter. He closed the folder. We're not terminating you, yet, but we are placing you on administrative leave pending the outcome of your case. You're suspending me. We're protecting the hospital. Lena stood. Her hands were shaking. I've worked here for 8 years. I've never missed a shift. Never had a complaint. Never. This isn't personal, Ms. Carter. It feels pretty personal. She walked out before he could respond. Made it to her car before the tears came. Sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, hands gripping the wheel, trying to breathe. Her phone buzzed. A text from Russo. Heard about the suspension. We need to talk. She didn't reply. Just sat there, staring at the rain streaking down the windshield, wondering how doing the right thing had turned her entire life upside down. Russo's office, round 2. This time, he wasn't smiling. They're scared, he said. Who? The department, the hospital, the mayor's office. They know the video looks bad, and they know public opinion is on your side, so they're doing what powerful institutions always do. They're trying to isolate you. It's working. Not if we don't let it. Russo slid a document across the table. I've been digging into Grimes, his personnel file, his arrest record, and guess what? He's got a history of targeting women, specifically women of color. Lena looked up sharply. I'm white. I know, but 3 of the 7 complaints against him involved black women, 1 Latina, all of them detained without cause, all of them released without charges, and all of them settled quietly. He tapped the document. This is a pattern, and patterns are what win cases. What do you need from me? I need you to stay strong. Because when we get to trial, they're going to try to break you. They'll put Grimes on the stand, and he'll say he was doing his job. They'll bring in experts who will say, you should have waited for paramedics. They'll make you sound reckless. I'm not reckless. I know, but they'll try. Russo leaned back. The good news is, we've got the video. We've got witnesses. And we've got a jury who's going to see a nurse who saved a kid and got arrested for it. That's a powerful story. It's not a story. It's my life. I know, and I'm going to make sure they don't take it from you. Pasto. The trial date was set for 6 months out. In the meantime, Lena tried to rebuild. She couldn't work at Mercy General, so she picked up shifts at a clinic across town. The pay was worse. The hours were brutal. But it was something. The boy she'd saved, his name was Marcus, was doing fine. His mother, a woman named Tasha, reached out through Russo's office to say thank you. Lena didn't respond. She wasn't ready. Didn't know if she'd ever be ready. Maya kept pushing her to do interviews. Tell your side, she'd said. Control the narrative. But Lena didn't want to control anything. She just wanted it to be over. And then, 3 months before the trial, something shifted. A new video surfaced. It was dashcam footage from Grimes's patrol car, and someone had leaked it to the press. The footage showed the moments before the arrest, showed Grimes sitting in his car, watching Lena pull Marcus from the water, watching her do CPR. And then instead of helping, instead of calling for backup, he got out and drew his weapon. The audio was the worst part. Look at this, Grimes muttered to his partner. Probably trying to get on the news. Want me to check it out? Nah, I got it. And then he approached, gun drawn, shouting. The video ended. Within hours, it was everywhere. The police union went silent. The mayor called for an internal investigation, and Grimes, for the first time, was placed on unpaid leave. Russo called Lena that night. This changes everything, he said. How? Because now it's not just your word against his. It's him, on tape, assuming the worst about you before he even got out of the car. That's bias. That's malice. And that's exactly what we need. What happens now? Now we go to trial, and we win. The courtroom was smaller than Lena expected. She sat at the plaintiff's table, hands folded, watching the jury file in. 12 people who didn't know her, didn't know Marcus, didn't know what it felt like to pull a drowning child from the water and then get treated like a criminal. Russo stood, straightened his tie, walked to the center of the room. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is simple. On the night of October 14th, Lena Carter saved a life. And for that, she was arrested, humiliated, and had her career destroyed. Not because she broke the law, but because Officer Raymond Grimes decided, without evidence, without investigation, that she was guilty of something. He turned to the jury. You've seen the video, you've heard the audio, you know what happened. And now you get to decide, do we live in a country where helping someone can get you arrested? Or do we hold the people in power accountable when they abuse it? The defense attorney stood. Older man, expensive suit. Officer Grimes was doing his job. He responded to a chaotic scene. He made a split-second decision to secure the situation. And yes, Ms. Carter was briefly detained, but she was released. No charges were filed. No harm was done. Russo was on his feet. No harm? She lost her job. She's been vilified. The judge banged his gavel. Mr. Russo, you'll have your turn. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Witnesses testified. Experts argued. The dashcam video played over and over until Lena could recite Grimes's words in her sleep. And then it was her turn. She took the stand, swore to tell the truth, and looked out at the courtroom, at the jury, at Grimes sitting stone-faced at the defense table. Russo approached. Miss Carter, why did you jump into the canal that night? Because there was a child drowning. Did you think about your safety? No. Did you think about the consequences? No, I just thought, if I don't do this, he's going to die. And when Officer Grimes arrested you, what went through your mind? Lena took a breath. I thought I'd done something wrong. I thought maybe I'd broken a rule I didn't know about. And then I realized I hadn't done anything wrong. He just decided I had. The defense attorney cross-examined her, tried to poke holes, tried to make her sound impulsive, reckless. But Lena didn't budge. I'm a nurse, she said. I've been trained to act in emergencies. That's what I did. Even though you weren't on duty. I'm always on duty. That's what being a nurse means. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the foreman stood. In the matter of Carter versus Grimes, we find in favor of the plaintiff. Lena exhaled. We award damages in the amount of $11.1 million. The courtroom erupted. Russo grabbed her hand. Maya was crying. But Lena just sat there, staring at Grimes, who looked like he'd been hit by a truck. The judge banged his gavel. Order, we're not done. He turned to Grimes. Officer Grimes, you violated Miss Carter's constitutional rights. You acted with malice, and you abused your power. This court recommends your immediate termination and referral for criminal prosecution. Grimes stood, walked out, didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed, microphones shoved forward. Ms. Carter, how do you feel? Lena looked at Russo. He nodded. She stepped forward. I feel like justice was served. Not just for me. For everyone who's ever been afraid to help someone because they didn't know if they'd be punished for it. Do you have a message for Officer Grimes? She paused. I hope he learned something from this. I hope the department learned something. Because the next person who jumps into the water to save a life shouldn't have to worry about what happens after. What's next for you? I'm going back to work. I'm going back to being a nurse. Because that's who I am. And then she walked away, Maya beside her, into the rain that had finally stopped falling. The rain had stopped, but the damage was still there. Lena could see it in the way people looked at her now, like she was fragile, like she might shatter if someone said the wrong thing. Maya kept glancing over while she drove, mouth opening and closing like she wanted to say something reassuring but couldn't find the words. You okay? Maya finally asked. I don't know yet. They pulled into the parking lot of Lena's apartment complex. The building looked the same as it had 6 months ago, but everything else felt different, heavier, like gravity had changed while she wasn't paying attention. You want me to come up? Maya asked. I'm fine. That's not what I asked. Lena grabbed her bag from the back seat. I just need some time alone. Maya didn't argue, just watched her walk toward the entrance, keys already in hand. The apartment was exactly as she'd left it. Dishes in the sink, mail piled on the counter, a half-empty coffee mug on the table. Evidence of a life that had been interrupted mid-sentence. She dropped her bag on the couch and stood there, staring at nothing. $11.1 million. The number didn't feel real. It felt like something that happened to other people, people who planned for it, people who knew what to do with that kind of money. All Lena knew was that it wouldn't bring back the 8 years she'd spent at Mercy General. Wouldn't erase the looks from her coworkers when she'd been placed on leave. Wouldn't undo the fact that Raymond Grimes had looked at her that night and decided she was guilty before she'd even opened her mouth. Her phone buzzed. A text from Russo. Press wants statements. I can handle it if you're not ready. She typed back. Handle it. Another buzz. This one from a number she didn't recognize. Ms. Carter, this is Tasha Bennett, Marcus's mother. I know you didn't want to talk before, but I'd really like to meet you, just to say thank you, please. Lena read it 3 times. Then she set the phone down and walked to the window. Outside, the parking lot was empty, except for a few cars and a kid riding a bike in circles. Normal. Boring. Safe. She texted back. Okay. But they met at a coffee shop near the river, the kind of place with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. Tasha was younger than Lena expected, mid-30s maybe, with braids pulled back in a ponytail and a tired smile that looked permanent. Marcus was with her, sitting at the table with a coloring book, completely absorbed in whatever he was drawing. Thank you for coming, Tasha said, standing to shake Lena's hand. I wasn't sure I should. I get it, but I needed to see you. Needed Marcus to see you. Lena glanced at the boy. He was scribbling something blue and green, tongue sticking out in concentration. He looked so normal, so alive. How is he? Lena asked, sitting down. Good. Great, actually. No lasting effects. The doctor said if you'd waited even 30 seconds longer, Tasha's voice caught. She cleared her throat. They said he wouldn't have made it. Lena didn't know what to say to that, didn't know how to process the weight of it, so she just nodded. Marcus looked up. Are you the lady who saved me? Yeah, Lena said. I guess I am. He went back to coloring. Cool. Tasha laughed, but it sounded like a sob. He doesn't really remember it, just bits and pieces, the water, the cold. He had nightmares for a while, but they're getting better. That's good. I saw the trial, Tasha said quietly. I saw what they did to you, and I'm so sorry. You didn't do anything. I know, but you saved my son and you got punished for it. That's not right. Lena looked at Marcus again. He was drawing a boat now, or maybe a car. Hard to tell. He's alive. That's all that matters. It's not all that matters. Tasha leaned forward. You lost your job. You got dragged through hell. And I need you to know, if there's anything I can do, anything at all, I will. Testimony. Interviews, whatever you need. It's over. The trial's done. But you're not done, are you? Lena met her eyes. Tasha was looking at her like she could see through all the walls Lena had built in the last 6 months. Like she knew exactly how much it had cost to stand up in that courtroom and say she'd done nothing wrong. I don't know, Lena admitted. I thought I'd feel different after the verdict, but I just feel tired? Yeah, Tasha nodded. That makes sense. You've been fighting for so long. But you won. You actually won. And that's rare. Marcus looked up again. Can I show her my picture? Sure, baby. He slid the coloring book across the table. The drawing was a mess of shapes and colors, but Lena could make out water, a car, and a stick figure with yellow hair pulling another stick figure out. That's you, Marcus said, pointing at the yellow-haired figure. You saved me. Lena felt something crack open in her chest. She swallowed hard. It's really good. You can keep it if you want. You sure? He nodded. I can make another one. Tasha was crying now, not even trying to hide it. Lena carefully tore the page out of the book and folded it in half. Thank you. You're welcome. Otsan. Lena went back to the clinic the next day. It was a small operation, 2 doctors, 3 nurses, a rotating cast of patients who couldn't afford anywhere else. The work was exhausting and the pay was terrible, but at least no one here treated her like a liability. Dr. Sarah Kim, the clinic's director, met her at the door. "Didn't expect to see you today." "I need to work." "You just won a lawsuit. Pretty sure you could take a week off." "I don't want a week off. I want to do my job." Sarah studied her for a moment, then stepped aside. "Room 3 needs vitals. Room 5 is waiting on discharge papers." Lena grabbed a clipboard and got to work. The first patient was an elderly man with high blood pressure who spent 10 minutes lecturing her about the government. The second was a young woman with a sprained ankle who kept apologizing for taking up time. The third was a kid with an ear infection whose mother looked like she hadn't slept in days. Normal, routine, exactly what Lena needed. But halfway through the shift, Sarah pulled her aside. "There's someone here to see you." "Who?" "Says his name is Philip Durant, from the Department of Health." Lena frowned. "What does he want?" "He wouldn't say, but he's waiting in my office." Philip Durant was exactly what Lena expected. Mid-50s, suit that probably cost more than her rent, briefcase that looked like it had never been carried anywhere that wasn't air-conditioned. He stood when she entered, extending a hand. "Miss Carter, thank you for seeing me." She didn't shake it. "What's this about?" He lowered his hand, unfazed. "I'm here on behalf of the State Licensing Board. We've been reviewing your case." "My case is over." "The criminal case, yes, but there are other considerations." He sat, uninvited. "Your actions on the night of October 14th raised some questions about protocol, specifically whether you acted within the scope of your nursing license." Lena felt the floor tilt. "I saved a kid." "You performed emergency medical care outside of a clinical setting without authorization." "He was drowning." "I understand, but the board has a responsibility to ensure that licensed professionals adhere to established guidelines. And there's concern that your actions, while well-intentioned, may have set a dangerous precedent." "Dangerous for who?" Durant folded his hands on the briefcase. "For patients, for other healthcare workers, for the integrity of the profession." "Get out." He blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Get out." "Ms. Carter, I'm trying to help you. If you cooperate with the board's inquiry, we can resolve this quietly. But if you refuse, then what? You'll take my license?" "It's a possibility." Lena stepped closer. "I spent 11 years working my ass off to keep people alive. I've done everything by the book. I've followed every rule. And the one time I didn't wait for permission, the one time I acted because someone was dying, you want to punish me for it?" "It's not punishment, it's oversight." "Bullshit." She pointed at the door. "Get out, now." Durant stood slowly, straightening his tie. "You'll be hearing from us." "I'm sure I will." He left. Lena stood there, fist clenched, trying to remember how to breathe. Sarah appeared in the doorway. "What was that about?" "They're coming after my license." "Can they do that?" "Apparently." Sarah swore under her breath. "You need to call Russo." "I know." Listen, Russo's reaction was exactly what she expected. "They're bluffing," he said over the phone. "Good Samaritan laws protect you. They can't revoke your license for saving someone's life." "They think they can." "Then we'll fight it. Same as before." "I'm tired of fighting." There was a pause. "Lena, listen to me. They're doing this because you won. Because you embarrassed the department and now they're trying to find another way to punish you. But you didn't do anything wrong. And I'm not going to let them take your license." "What if I don't want to do this anymore?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if I just walk away, take the settlement money and start over somewhere else? Somewhere no one knows who I am." "You'd hate it." "You don't know that." "I do, because I've seen you. You're a nurse. That's not just what you do, it's who you are. And if they take that from you, they win." Lena closed her eyes. "I'm so tired, Jared." "I know, but you're not alone. We'll handle this. Together." The licensing board hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. In the meantime, Lena kept working at the clinic, kept her head down, kept ignoring the messages from reporters who still wanted interviews. She deleted social media from her phone, stopped reading the news, tried to pretend that her life was normal again. But at night, alone in her apartment, the walls closed in. She'd lie awake replaying the moment she'd pulled Marcus from the water, wondering if she'd do it again knowing what it would cost. The answer was always yes. And that's what made it worse. Maya came over one evening with takeout and a bottle of wine. "You look like hell," she said, unpacking containers on the table. "Thanks." "I'm serious. When's the last time you slept?" "I sleep." "Lena, I'm fine." Maya poured 2 glasses of wine, slid one across the table. "You're not fine. And that's okay. You don't have to be fine." Lena picked up the glass but didn't drink. "They're trying to take my license." "I know. Russo told me." "Of course he did. He's worried about you." "Everyone's worried about me. No one's worried about the fact that I did my job and got arrested for it, that I saved a kid and lost everything." Her voice cracked. "That I spent 8 years building a career and it's gone because one cop decided I looked guilty." Maya reached across the table, gripped her hand. "It's not gone. You're still here. You're still fighting." "I don't want to fight anymore." "Too bad. Because the alternative is letting them win. And I know you, Lena. You don't quit." The hearing room was smaller than the courtroom. Just a table, a few chairs, and a panel of 5 board members who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Durant was there, sitting at the opposite table with a stack of files that probably had her entire life history in them. Russo sat beside her, calm and composed. "Just answer honestly. Don't let them bait you." The board chair, a woman named Dr. Elaine Moss, called the session to order. "Marcet, Carter, you're here today to address concerns regarding your actions on October 14th of last year. Specifically, whether those actions violated the standards of practice for licensed nurses in this state." "They didn't," Lena said. "Let's review the facts. You were off duty, you were not in a clinical setting, you performed emergency medical procedures without authorization or oversight. Is that accurate?" "I pulled a drowning child from a car and did CPR." "If that's a violation, then your standards are wrong." One of the board members, a man with wire-rimmed glasses, leaned forward. "Ms. Carter, no one is questioning your intentions, but there are protocols in place for a reason, protocols that ensure patient safety. He was underwater. There wasn't time for protocols. You could have called for help." "I did. I pulled him out and started CPR, and then the paramedics arrived. What was I supposed to do? Let him drown while I waited for someone with the right credentials?" Durant cleared his throat. "The issue isn't whether you saved the child. It's whether your actions were medically sound. You moved him from the vehicle. You performed compressions without knowing if he had spinal injuries. You took risks that could have what? Killed him? He was already dying. That's not the point." Russo stood. "Actually, that's exactly the point. Ms. Carter assessed an emergency situation, applied her training, and saved a life. The paramedics who arrived on scene confirmed that her actions were appropriate. The child's doctors confirmed that there were no injuries caused by her intervention, and the jury in her civil case confirmed that she acted within her rights. So unless this board has evidence that contradicts all of that, I suggest we stop wasting everyone's time." Dr. Moss frowned. "Mr. Russo, this is not a trial." No, it's a witch hunt. That's enough." Russo sat back down, leaned over to Lena. "Let me handle this." But Lena was done being quiet. She stood. "I've been a nurse for 11 years. I've worked night shifts, double shifts, holidays, weekends. I've held the hands of dying patients. I've told families their loved ones didn't make it. I've done everything this profession asked of me. And the one time I acted without waiting for someone to tell me it was okay, you want to punish me for it." She looked at each board member in turn. "If you take my license, you're not protecting patients. You're protecting yourselves. Because if I'm allowed to do what I did, then other nurses might start thinking they can act without permission. And that scares you." The room was silent. Dr. Moss shuffled her papers. "We'll take this under advisement. You'll receive our decision in writing within 30 days. "That's it?" Lena said. "That's it." The 30 days felt like 30 years. Lena kept working, kept moving, kept trying not to think about what would happen if the board ruled against her. but the weight of it was always there, pressing down, making it hard to breathe. And then, on day 28, Russo called. They ruled. Lena's stomach dropped. And? You keep your license. She exhaled. Really? Really? They issued a formal reprimand for failure to follow protocol, but no suspension, no probation. You're clear. A reprimand. It's nothing. A slap on the wrist. They needed to save face. Lena sat down on the couch, phone pressed to her ear. So it's over. It's over. What about Grimes, the department? Grimes was terminated. He's facing criminal charges for false arrest. The department's under federal oversight, and your settlement is being processed. When? Should hit your account within the week. Lena closed her eyes. $11.1 million. Enough to never work again if she didn't want to. Enough to disappear. Enough to start over. But she didn't want to start over. She wanted her life back. Jared? Yeah? Thank you. You did the hard part. I just kept them honest. Mercy General called 2 days later. Not HR. Not administration. Dr. Helen Voss. Lena, it's Helen. You have a minute? Sure. I heard about the board ruling. Congratulations. Thanks. There was a pause. I also heard about your settlement. Word travels fast. It does in a hospital. Another pause. I'm calling because we'd like you to come back. Lena almost laughed. You suspended me. I know, and I'm sorry. We made a mistake. A mistake. A cowardly decision based on pressure from people who shouldn't have had any say in it. And I'm hoping you'll let us make it right. How? Come back. Full reinstatement. Back pay for the time you were on leave. And a formal apology from the board. Lena stood, pacing her apartment. Why now? Because we need good nurses, and you're one of the best we've ever had. You didn't think that 6 months ago. I did, but I let other people convince me to ignore it. That won't happen again. Lena stopped at the window, staring out at the parking lot. The same kid was riding his bike in circles. Still normal, still boring, still safe. I'll think about it, she said. That's all I'm asking. Lena didn't go back to Mercy General, not right away. Instead, she took a week off, drove to the coast, stayed in a cheap motel with a view of the ocean, and spent her days walking on the beach, trying to figure out what she wanted. The settlement money hit her account on the third day. She checked the balance twice to make sure it was real. It was. She called Maya. I'm rich, Lena said. Maya laughed. Yeah, you are. What are you going to do with it? I have no idea. You could travel, buy a house, retire. I'm 34. So, you've earned it. Lena watched the waves roll in. I don't want to retire. Then what do you want? I want to go back to work, but not at Mercy General. Where then? I don't know yet. Somewhere that needs me. Somewhere I can actually help. You've always helped, Lena. Yeah, and look where it got me. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. Because Marcus was alive. Because the jury had sided with her. Because Grimes was facing consequences for the first time in his career. Because something had changed even if it didn't feel like enough. She went back to the clinic. Sarah was in her office, buried in paperwork. You're back, Sarah said, looking up. Thought you'd be on a beach somewhere. I was. Got boring. Sarah smiled. So what now? I want to work here. Full time. Lena, you don't need to work here. You've got... I know what I have. I'm asking if you'll let me work here anyway. Sarah leaned back in her chair. Why? Because this place matters. Because the people who come here don't have anywhere else to go. And because I'm a nurse, that's what I do. Sarah studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, but I can't pay you what you're worth. I don't care about the money. Clearly. Sarah stood, extended her hand. Welcome back. Well, 3 months later, Lena was restocking supplies when Sarah came to find her. There's someone here to see you. Who? A kid. Says his name is Marcus. Lena set down the box she was holding and followed Sarah to the waiting room. Marcus was sitting with Tasha, swinging his legs, holding a folded piece of paper. Hi. Lena said. Hadachi. Marcus jumped down from the chair. I made you another picture. Yeah? He handed it over. This one was more detailed, less stick figures, more color. It showed a woman in scrubs standing next to a hospital, with a sun in the corner and birds in the sky. That's you, Marcus said. At your work. Lena crouched down to his level. It's perfect. Mom says you help people. I try. Can I help too when I grow up? Tasha put a hand on his shoulder. You can be anything you want, baby. Marcus looked at Lena. I want to be like you. Something twisted in Lena's chest. She looked up at Tasha, who was smiling through tears. You already are, Lena said quietly. That night, Lena went home and pinned both of Marcus's drawings to her fridge, stood there staring at them for a long time. Then she pulled out her phone and scrolled through messages she'd been ignoring. Interview requests, speaking invitations, offers to tell her story. She deleted most of them, but one caught her eye. It was from a nonprofit that trained civilians in emergency response. They wanted her to speak at their next event, share what she'd learned, inspire others to act. She almost deleted it. Almost. But then she thought about Marcus, about Tasha, about the kid on the bike and the patients at the clinic, and everyone who'd ever needed help and didn't get it because someone was too afraid to act. She typed a reply. I'm interested. Let's talk. The event was in a high school auditorium, packed with people who wanted to learn how to save lives. Lena stood backstage, listening to the organizer introduce her, feeling the same nervous energy she'd felt before the trial. Please welcome Lena Carter. She walked out. The applause was louder than she expected. She stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd, and for a moment she couldn't remember what she'd planned to say. Then she saw a woman in the third row holding a notebook, a man near the back wearing scrubs, a teenager with his parents leaning forward, paying attention. I'm a nurse, Lena said, and 6 months ago I saved a kid's life, then I got arrested for it. The room went silent. I'm not telling you this because I want sympathy. I'm telling you because I want you to understand something. Helping people is risky. It's messy. It doesn't always go the way you think it will. And sometimes you'll get punished for doing the right thing. She paused. But you do it anyway, because the alternative is watching someone die when you could have saved them. And I don't know about you, but I can't live with that. The crowd erupted. Not polite applause, real, loud, sustained. Lena gripped the podium and kept talking. She told them about Marcus, about the canal, about Grimes, about the trial, about losing her job and fighting for her license and wondering if any of it was worth it. And the answer is yes, she said. It was worth it, because that kid is alive, because the officer who violated my rights is facing consequences, because the system that protected him is being forced to change, not because I'm special, but because I refuse to stay quiet. More applause. Lena waited for it to die down. So here's what I want you to take from this. Learn CPR, learn first aid, carry a tourniquet in your car, and if you see someone who needs help, don't wait for permission. Don't assume someone else will handle it. Act, because you might be the only chance they have. She stepped back from the podium. The applause followed her off stage. The organizer met her in the wings, beaming. That was incredible. Thanks. We've already had 3 people ask if you'd come speak at their events. Lena hesitated. I'm not really a public speaker. You are now. Yeah. She drove home through quiet streets, windows down, letting the night air clear her head. Her phone buzzed. A text from Russo. Saw the video of your speech. You're a natural. She smiled. Don't get used to it. Another buzz, this one from a number she didn't recognize. Ms. Carter, this is Lieutenant Angela Torres with the State Police. I need to speak with you about Officer Grimes. It's urgent. Lena pulled over. Read the message again. Typed back. What about him? The reply came fast. He's been released on bail, and we have reason to believe he's coming for you. Lena's hands went cold on the steering wheel. She stared at the text, reading it 3 times to make sure she'd understood. Then she called the number. Lieutenant Torres picked up on the first ring. Ms. Carter? What do you mean he's coming for me? We intercepted communications. Emails, text messages. He's blaming you for everything. The lawsuit, the termination, the criminal charges. And he's made threats. What kind of threats? Torres hesitated. Specific ones. We're taking this seriously. Where are you right now? Lena looked around. She was parked on a residential street, houses dark, no cars passing, alone. I'm in my car, about 10 minutes from my apartment. Don't go home. Do you have somewhere else you can stay? My sister's place. Go there, now. I'm sending a unit to your apartment and another to your sister's address. What's the address? Lena gave it, hands shaking. How did he get out on bail? Judge set it at $50,000. His union posted it. His union? I know, we're working on getting it revoked, but that takes time. In the meantime, you need to stay somewhere he can't find you. Lena put the car in gear. How long? I don't know. Could be days. Could be longer. This is insane. I know, but until we locate him and bring him back in, you're not safe. Lena ended the call and drove. Her mind was racing, trying to process the fact that Raymond Grimes, the man who'd arrested her, humiliated her, tried to destroy her, was out there somewhere, angry and armed and looking for her. She'd thought the trial was the end of it, thought the verdict meant she could move on, but nothing was ever really over. She called Maya. No answer. Called again. Still nothing. Come on, Maya, pick up. On the third try, Maya answered, groggy. Lena? It's almost midnight. I'm coming over. Don't ask questions, just make sure your doors are locked. What's going on? I'll explain when I get there. She hung up before Maya could argue. Checked the rearview mirror every few seconds, looking for headlights that stayed too close or followed too long. The streets were mostly empty. A few late-night drivers, a delivery truck, nothing suspicious. But Lena's pulse wouldn't slow down. Maya's apartment was in a newer complex on the east side of town, all security gates and assigned parking. Lena pulled up to the gate, punched in the code Maya had given her months ago, and waited while it slid open. Parked as close to the entrance as she could, and ran. Maya opened the door before Lena could knock. What the hell is going on? Grimes is out on bail. The state police think he's coming after me. Maya's face went pale. Are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking? Get inside. Lena stepped in and Maya locked the door behind her, throwing the deadbolt and the chain. Did they say where he is? They don't know. That's the problem. Maya pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. They already know. They're sending units to my place and here. Good. Maya paced the living room, running her hands through her hair. Okay, so we just wait. I guess? For how long? I don't know, Maya. They stood there, staring at each other, neither of them knowing what to say. Then Maya went to the kitchen and came back with 2 glasses of water. Sit. You look like you're going to pass out. Lena sat on the couch, took the glass, didn't drink. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lieutenant Torres. Units are in position, stay inside, we'll update you as we know more. Another text, right after. From Russo. Heard about Grimes. Are you safe? Lena typed back. For now. Maya sat beside her. You think he'll actually try something? I don't know, but I'm not taking chances. Good. They sat in silence. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional car passing outside. Lena kept checking her phone, waiting for updates that didn't come. Every sound made her flinch. Every creak of the building settling felt like footsteps. At 1 a.m, there was a knock at the door. Both of them froze. Police, a voice called. Ms. Bennett? Maya went to the door, checked the peephole. It's a cop. She opened it. A uniformed officer stood in the hallway, young, polite, hand resting on his belt. I'm Officer Navarro, just checking in. Everything okay? Yeah, Maya said. We're fine. Good. We'll be parked outside for the rest of the night. You need anything, you let us know. Thanks. He left. Maya closed the door, locked it again. Feels like we're under house arrest. Better than the alternative. Lena didn't sleep. She lay on Maya's couch, staring at the ceiling, running through worst-case scenarios. Grimes showing up, breaking in, a confrontation. She'd never been afraid of him before, not really. He'd been an obstacle, a problem, something to fight in court. But now he was a threat. And threats didn't care about verdicts. Her phone buzzed at 3 a.m. Lieutenant Torres. Update. Grimes's vehicle was spotted near the county line. Patrol attempted a stop. He fled. We're setting up a perimeter. Lena sat up, heart hammering. She texted back. Is he headed this way? Unknown. Stay where you are. She showed the message to Maya, who'd come out of her bedroom in pajamas and a hoodie. They're chasing him? Maya asked. Sounds like it. What if he gets away? Then we keep waiting. Maya sat on the arm of the couch. This is so messed up. Yeah. You saved a kid, and now you're hiding because some asshole with a badge can't handle losing. Lena didn't respond. There wasn't anything to say that would make it better. At 4:30, another text. Suspect apprehended. Resisting arrest. Being transported to county jail. You're clear. Lena exhaled for the first time in hours. They got him. Maya grabbed the phone, read the message. Thank God. Yeah. But even with Grimes back in custody, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, that something else was coming, that the universe had decided she was owed more chaos and wouldn't stop until it delivered. She went back to her apartment the next morning, escorted by Officer Navarro, who did a sweep of the place before letting her in. Everything was exactly as she'd left it. No signs of forced entry, no threats spray-painted on the walls, just her quiet, boring apartment waiting. Navarro handed her a card. You need anything? Call this number. We'll have patrols in the area for the next few days. Thanks. He left. Lena locked the door and stood in the middle of the living room, trying to convince herself she was safe. It didn't work. Her phone rang. Russo. You okay? He asked. Define okay? Fair. Listen, I need to tell you something. What now? Grimes's bail has been revoked. He's not getting out again, but what? His lawyer's arguing that you provoked him, that the lawsuit and the media coverage destroyed his life and he had a breakdown. Lena laughed bitterly. He threatened me. He tried to find me. How is that my fault? It's not. But they're going to try to spin it that way, make you look like the aggressor. I'm not the one who got arrested fleeing from police. I know, but I wanted you to be prepared. This is going to get uglier before it gets better. It's already ugly. Yeah, but we've handled ugly before. Lena hung up and sat on the couch, staring at Marcus's drawings on the fridge. She'd saved his life. That should have been the end of the story. Instead, it was just the beginning of something she couldn't control and couldn't escape. The clinic was chaos when she arrived for her shift. Sarah met her at the door looking frazzled. Thank God you're here. We're completely slammed. What happened? Flu outbreak. Half the staff called in sick. We've got a waiting room full of people and no one to see them. Lena dropped her bag in the staff room and got to work. For the next 6 hours, she didn't think about Grimes or bail or threats. She just moved from room to room, taking vitals, administering medications, reassuring panicked parents that their kids would be fine. It was exhausting and repetitive and exactly what she needed. During a rare break, she checked her phone, a text from Lieutenant Torres. Need to speak with you. Can you come to the station? Lena frowned. Texted back. When? Today, if possible. It's important. She told Sarah she needed to leave early, grabbed her coat, and drove to the state police barracks. Lieutenant. Torres met her in the lobby, late 30s, sharp eyes, the kind of person who didn't waste words. Thanks for coming, Torres said, leading her to a conference room. Have a seat. Lena sat. What's this about? Torres set a folder on the table. We've been going through Grimes's communications, the ones we intercepted, and we found something. What? He wasn't working alone. Lena's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Torres opened the folder, pulled out printed emails. He was in contact with at least 3 other officers, sharing information about you, planning how to discredit you, talking about ways to, she paused, to make you disappear. Make me disappear. Their words, not mine. Lena took the printouts, scanned them. The language was vague but threatening. References to handling the problem, to shutting her up, to making an example. Who are these people? Lena asked. 2 are officers in the same department Grimes worked for. One's retired. All of them have histories similar to his. Complaints, settlements, patterns of misconduct. And they're all just, what, coordinating to come after me? It looks that way. We're investigating. But I need you to understand, this is bigger than Grimes. This is a network. Lena set the papers down. Her hands were shaking. What do I do? Stay vigilant. Keep your doors locked. Vary your routine. And if you see anything suspicious, you call me immediately. That's it? I just wait for them to make a move? We're working on arrests, but we need evidence. Right now, all we have are emails. We need more. So I'm bait. Torres leaned forward. You're a target, and I'm doing everything I can to protect you. But I can't put you in a safe house, okay? I can't assign you a full-time detail. My hands are tied. Lena stood. Then I'll protect myself. Miss Carter, thanks for the warning. She left before Torres could stop her. Got in her car and drove, not sure where she was going, just needing to move. Her phone rang. Maya. Where are you? Maya asked. Driving. Torres called me. Told me what's going on. You need to stay with me. I'm not hiding. Lena, I'm done running. I'm done letting these people control my life. Then what are you going to do? Lena didn't answer, because she didn't know yet. She went to Russo's office. He was in a meeting, but his assistant told him she was there, and he came out immediately. What happened? He asked. Grimes had help. There are other cops involved. They're planning something. Russo's jaw tightened. Come inside. They went to his office. He closed the door, gestured for her to sit. Tell me everything. She did. The emails, the threats, Torres's warning, the fact that she was essentially waiting for someone to try to hurt her. When she finished, Russo sat back in his chair. We need to go public with this. What? The emails, the network, all of it. We release it to the press, put pressure on the department, force them to act. That'll make me an even bigger target. Maybe. Or maybe it'll make you too visible to touch. Right now, they think they can operate in the shadows. We shine a light on them. They scatter. Lena thought about it. What if it doesn't work? Then we sue them too. Civil conspiracy. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. We bury them in litigation. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in court. You won't have to. Because once the first one falls, the rest will cave. These guys are cowards. They only act when they think they're protected. Take away that protection, they fold. Lena looked out the window. The city stretched out below, oblivious to the fact that her life was falling apart again. Do it. You're sure? I'm sure. The story broke 2 days later. A local investigative reporter ran it on the front page. Disgraced officer, part of network targeting. Nurse who sued him. The article included excerpts from the emails, statements from Lieutenant Torres, and a quote from Russo calling for a federal investigation. The response was immediate. The police union issued a denial. The mayor called for accountability. The FBI announced they were looking into it. And Lena's phone didn't stop buzzing. Interview requests, threats, messages of support, death threats. Everything all at once. She turned off her phone and went to work. Sarah met her at the door. You've got reporters outside. I know. You want me to call security? No, just ignore them. They'll leave eventually. But they didn't leave. They stayed all morning, cameras trained on the entrance, shouting questions every time someone walked in or out. Patients complained, staff complained. By noon, Sarah had enough. You need to go, she said. Lena looked up from the chart she was reading. What? I can't have this circus here. It's disrupting everything. Sarah, I'm not firing you, but I need you to take some time. Let this blow over. Lena set the chart down. It's not going to blow over. Then take time anyway, please. Lena grabbed her coat and walked out through the back entrance, avoiding the cameras. Got in her car and drove to the one place she knew she could think clearly. The canal. She parked where she'd parked that night, walked to the spot where the SUV had gone in. The water was calm now. No rain, no current, just a quiet stretch of river that had almost swallowed a child. She stood there for a long time, trying to remember what it felt like to act without thinking, to see a problem and solve it, to be a nurse instead of a symbol. Her phone buzzed. She'd turned it back on without realizing. A text from an unknown number. You should have stayed quiet. Lena's blood went cold. She looked around. The parking lot was empty. The street was quiet, but someone was watching. Another text. We know where you are. She ran, got to her car, locked the doors, started the engine, pulled out of the lot and onto the main road, checking the mirrors every 2 seconds. No one followed, but that didn't mean they weren't there. She called Torres. I'm getting threats. What kind? Texts. From a number I don't recognize. They know where I am. Forward them to me. Where are you now? Heading to my sister's. Good. Stay there. I'm sending a unit. Lena hung up and kept driving. Her hands were steady on the wheel, but her mind was screaming. This was supposed to be over. The trial was over. Grimes was in jail. She'd won. So why did it feel like she was still losing? Maya's apartment felt like a cage. Lena paced the living room while Maya sat on the couch, watching her. You need to leave town, Maya said. I'm not running. This isn't running, it's surviving. I survived the trial. I survived Grimes. I'll survive this. Lena, these people are threatening you. They know where you are. They're not going to stop. So what? I just disappear? Let them win? Winning doesn't matter if you're dead. Lena stopped pacing, looked at her sister. I'm not leaving. Then what are you going to do? I'm going to make them stop. How? I don't know yet. Maya stood, grabbed Lena's shoulders. Listen to me. You're one person. They're a network. You can't fight them alone. I'm not alone. I've got Russo. I've got Torres. You've got lawyers and cops who can only do so much. And at the end of the day, you're the one they want. Lena pulled away. So what do you want me to do? Beg for mercy? Apologize for saving Marcus? I want you to stay alive. I am alive, and I'm going to stay that way. But the FBI contacted her 3 days later. 2 agents in dark suits showed up at Maya's apartment and asked if they could talk. Lena let them in. Agent Pierce was older, graying at the temples, calm demeanor. Agent Kwan was younger, sharper, took notes on everything. We've been reviewing the evidence, Pierce said, the emails, the communications, and we believe you're in danger. I know that. We'd like to offer you protection. Lena frowned. What kind of protection? Witness protection, relocation, new identity, the works. You're joking. We're not. This network is larger than we initially thought. At least 8 officers across 3 departments, and they're coordinating. To do what? Pierce hesitated. To silence you, permanently. The room went quiet. Maya grabbed Lena's hand. I'm not disappearing, Lena said. I'm not giving up my life because some cops can't handle accountability. Ms. Carter, we understand your position, but if you stay, we can't guarantee your safety. Then don't. I'll take my chances. Kwan looked up from her notes. You're risking your life for what? Pride? No, for the truth. If I run, they win. They get to keep operating, keep hurting people. And the next person who stands up to them, they'll do the same thing. I'm not giving them that power. Pierce stood. We'll respect your decision, but if you change your mind, I won't. They left. Maya turned to Lena, eyes wet. Are you insane? Probably. Lena, they just told you you're going to die if you stay here. They said they can't guarantee my safety. That's different. Not by much. Lena sat on the couch, head in her hands. I don't know what else to do, Maya. If I run, I lose. If I stay, I might die. But at least if I stay, I'm still me. Maya sat beside her, arm around her shoulders. Then we stay. Together. Russo called an emergency meeting. Lena, Maya, Lieutenant Torres, and the 2 FBI agents gathered in his conference room. Okay, Russo said. Let's talk strategy. They want her gone. We need to make that impossible. How? Torres asked. We make her untouchable. We do interviews. We go on every news outlet that'll have us. We make sure the entire country knows who Lena Carter is and what's happening to her. They can't kill someone everyone's watching. Pierce shook his head. That could backfire. Make her a bigger target. Or it makes them back off, Russo countered. These guys operate in the shadows. We drag them into the light. Kwan tapped her pen on the table. What if they don't care about the light? What if they're willing to act anyway? Then we catch them in the act, Torres said. Set up surveillance. Monitor communications. Wait for them to make a move. Using her as bait, Maya said. It's not ideal. It's insane, Lena spoke up. I'll do it. Everyone turned to look at her. If it means stopping them, Lena continued, I'll do whatever it takes. Russo leaned forward. You understand what you're agreeing to? I do. They might actually try to kill you. I know. And you're okay with that? Lena met his eyes. I'm a nurse. I've spent my entire career putting myself at risk to help other people. This isn't any different. Pierce stood. We'll need to coordinate with local PD, set up a protective detail, monitor her movements. She can't know everything, Quan added. If they're watching her, she needs to act natural. So I just go about my life and hope you catch them before they catch me? Lena asked. Essentially, yes. Maya grabbed Lena's arm. This is a terrible idea. It's the only idea we've got. What? The plan went into effect the next day. Lena went back to her apartment, back to the clinic, back to her normal routine, knowing that every step she took was being watched by both the FBI and the people who wanted her dead. She saw them once, or thought she did. A car parked across the street from her building, windows tinted, engine running. It stayed there for 20 minutes, then drove away. She reported it to Torres, who sent a unit to check. By the time they arrived, the car was gone. Could be nothing, Torres said. Or it could be them testing your awareness. Great. Just keep doing what you're doing. We've got eyes on you. But Lena didn't feel protected. She felt exposed, like a deer in a clearing waiting for the wolves to show themselves. A week passed, then 2. Nothing happened. The reporters moved on to other stories. The threats stopped. The FBI started talking about scaling back surveillance. And then, on a Tuesday night, Lena's car wouldn't start. She turned the key. Nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. She called roadside assistance, waited in the parking lot. A tow truck showed up 30 minutes later. The driver popped the hood, took one look, and whistled. Someone cut your brake lines, he said. Lena's heart stopped. What? See this? Clean cut. This wasn't an accident. She backed away from the car, pulled out her phone, called Torres. They tampered with my car. Where are you? My apartment. The tow truck driver says someone cut the brake lines. Don't touch anything. I'm sending a team. The team arrived in minutes. Crime scene techs photographed everything. Torres interviewed the driver. And Lena stood there watching, realizing how close she'd come to dying. If you'd driven this, Torres said quietly, you wouldn't have made it a mile. I know. We're moving you. Tonight. Where? Safe house. No arguments. Lena didn't argue. She packed a bag, got in the back of an unmarked car, and let them take her somewhere she didn't recognize. A small house on the edge of town, plain and forgettable. An agent stayed with her. Another watched from a car outside. She sat on the couch, staring at the wall, trying to process the fact that someone had tried to kill her and almost succeeded. Her phone rang. Russo. I heard what happened. Are you okay? Define okay. Lena. They tried to kill me, Jared. They cut my brake lines. If I'd driven that car... But you didn't. You're alive. And we're going to find whoever did this. What if you don't? We will. You can't promise that. There was a long pause. No, I can't. But I can promise that I'm not going to stop fighting until they're all in prison. Lena closed her eyes. I'm so tired. I know, but you can't give up now. Not when we're this close. Close to what? To breaking them. They're panicking. That's why they tried this, because they know we're closing in. Lena wanted to believe him, but all she felt was exhausted and scared and trapped in a situation she couldn't control. She hung up and went to bed, lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of a house that wasn't hers, wondering if she'd ever feel safe again. And then, at 3 a.m, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You can't hide forever. Lena sat up, heart pounding, showed the text to the agent in the living room. How did they get this number, she asked. The agent's face went pale. They shouldn't have. He made a call, spoke in low, urgent tones, hung up. We're moving you again, he said. Where? Somewhere safer. You said this was safe. It was. Until 30 seconds ago. They packed her into another car, drove through dark streets to another house, And Lena realized, sitting in the back seat watching streetlights blur past, that there was no such thing as safe. Not anymore. Not for her. The second safe house had bars on the windows, 2 agents instead of 1, a security system that beeped every time a door opened. Lena sat at the kitchen table, phone in front of her, staring at the last text. "You can't hide forever." She picked up the phone, typed a reply. "I'm not hiding. Come find me." She hit send before she could second-guess it. The agent saw what she'd done. "What the hell are you doing?" "Ending this? You just painted a target on your back." "The target was already there. Now at least they'll come to me instead of stalking me." The agent grabbed his radio. "We've got a situation." Within minutes, the house was swarming with FBI. Pierce and Quan arrived, furious. "What were you thinking?" Pierce demanded. "I was thinking I'm done being afraid. You just invited them to kill you." "No, I invited them to try, and when they do, you'll be waiting." Quan stepped forward. "This isn't a game." "I know, but I'm done playing defense. If they want me, they can come get me, and you can catch them when they do." Pierce and Quan exchanged looks. Then Pierce nodded. "Okay," he said. "We'll set the trap, but you do exactly what we say. Understood?" "Understood." They wired the house, set up surveillance, positioned agents in unmarked cars on every corner, and then they waited. Lena went about her day as normally as possible, made coffee, read a book, tried not to think about the fact that she'd just turned herself into bait. Night fell. The house went quiet. Lena sat in the living room, lights off, watching shadows move outside the window. And then, at 11:43, glass shattered in the back bedroom. Alarms blared. Agents swarmed. Lena hit the floor, hands over her head, as footsteps pounded through the house, shouting, commands, a gunshot. Then silence. An agent appeared in the doorway. "Clear! Stay down!" Lena stayed down. Listened to the chaos outside. More sirens, more voices, and then Pierce was there, pulling her to her feet. "You okay?" "What happened?" "We got one. White male, late 40s, armed. He's in custody." "Who is he?" "We're running his ID now, but he had a weapon and a plan. If we hadn't been here—" "I know." Pierce looked at her. "You were right. They came for you." "Yeah. And now we've got them." But as they led her out of the house, past crime scene tape and flashing lights, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, that one arrest wasn't enough, that somewhere out there, the rest of the network was watching, waiting, planning their next move. The man they arrested was named Carl Deacon, 52, retired police sergeant, 28 years on the force before he'd taken early retirement after an internal affairs investigation went nowhere. He had a service weapon, a suppressor, and a handwritten list with 3 addresses on it. Lena's apartment, Maya's apartment, the safe house. Pierce showed her the list through the glass of the interrogation room. Deacon sat on the other side, arms crossed, silent. He hadn't asked for a lawyer, hadn't said a word since they'd cuffed him. "He's not talking," Pierce said. "But his phone is." "What do you mean?" "Encrypted messages, coordinates, schedules. He's been communicating with at least 4 other people. We're tracing them now." Lena stared at Deacon through the glass. He looked ordinary, tired, like someone's uncle at a barbecue. Not like someone who'd broken into a house with a gun, planning to kill her. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you embarrassed them. Because you won. Because you're proof that the system can be held accountable, and they can't let that stand." "So what happens now?" "Now we use him to get the others." "How?" Pierce glanced at Quan, who stepped forward. "We make him think he succeeded." Lena turned. "What?" "We leak a story, say you were injured in the attack, critical condition. Then we see who celebrates." "You want to fake my death?" "Not death, just injury. Serious enough that you're out of the picture." "And then?" "Then we watch. See who reaches out, who relaxes, who makes a mistake." Lena looked back at Deacon. He was staring at the table, jaw tight. "Will it work?" "If they think you're neutralized, they'll get sloppy. Start communicating more openly. That's when we move." "How long?" 48 hours, maybe less." Lena exhaled. "Do it. I'll That's it. The story hit the news that night. Nurse attacked in home invasion, condition critical. Russo was quoted expressing outrage. The hospital issued a statement. Even the mayor weighed in, calling it a tragedy. Lena watched from a hotel room 2 towns over, curtains drawn, FBI agents stationed outside. It felt surreal seeing her own name in headlines like she was already gone. Maya called 6 times before Lena finally answered. "Are you watching this?" Maya asked, voice shaking. "Yeah. People think you're dying. That's the point. I hate this. I know. What if it doesn't work? What if they figure it out?" "Then we try something else." Maya was quiet for a moment. "Mom called. She saw the news." Lena closed her eyes. She hadn't spoken to her mother in 2 years, not since the blow-up over Lena choosing nursing over law school. "What did you tell her?" "That you're okay, that it's complicated." "Thanks. She wants to see you." Maya, I know. I'm just saying." Lena hung up and turned off the TV, sat in the dark, listening to the hum of the heating unit and the occasional footsteps in the hallway. This was her life now. Hiding, waiting, pretending to be broken so the people who wanted her broken would expose themselves. Her phone buzzed, a text from Quan. "We've got movement." 3 encrypted messages sent within the last hour. "All celebrating. We're close." Lena didn't reply, just set the phone down and tried to sleep. But, The first arrest came 18 hours later. Officer Nathan Riggs, 41, active duty, caught on a wiretap bragging to a friend that the problem's been handled. The FBI picked him up at his house. He lawyered up immediately, but his phone told the whole story. Messages coordinating with Deacon. Photos of Lena's apartment. Search histories on how to disable security systems. The second arrest followed 6 hours after that. Marcus Hawley, retired detective, found with a burner phone full of communications tying him to the network. He tried to run. Made it 3 blocks before agents tackled him in a grocery store parking lot. By the end of the second day, 5 people were in custody. All of them connected. All of them part of the same conspiracy. Pierce called Lena with the update. "We're making progress, but there's still one we can't locate." "Who?" "Name's Vincent Shaw, former lieutenant, retired 5 years ago. He's been dark since Deacon got arrested. No phone activity, no credit card use, nothing. You think he ran? Or he's planning something? Either way, we need to find him before he finds you." "I thought I was supposed to be dying." "You are. But Shaw's smart, smarter than the others. If he smells a trap, he'll go to ground and we'll never catch him." "So what do we do?" "We make you visible again. Draw him out." Lena sat up. "You want me to be bait again?" "It worked last time." "Barely." "I know, but it's the only way." The press conference was Russo's idea. Lena standing at a podium, bandage on her arm for effect, announcing that she'd survived the attack and was grateful to be alive. Cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions. The perfect spectacle to draw Shaw into the open. "You don't have to do this," Russo said before they went on. "Yes, I do. If he's watching, then he'll see me and he'll make a move. That's what we want." Russo adjusted his tie. "You're either the bravest person I know or the most reckless." "Can it be both?" He smiled, just barely. "Yeah, it can." They walked out together. The room erupted with flashes and voices. Lena stepped up to the microphone, hands shaking, trying to remember the script they'd rehearsed. 2 nights ago, someone broke into my home and tried to kill me. They failed. I'm here because the FBI acted quickly, because I refused to be silenced, and because I believe that no one should have to live in fear for doing the right thing. More flashes, more questions. I know there are people out there who want me dead, people who think they can intimidate me into disappearing, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep fighting, keep speaking out, and I'm going to make sure that everyone involved in this conspiracy is held accountable. She stepped back. Russo took the mic, fielded questions. Lena stood beside him, scanning the crowd, wondering if Shaw was out there somewhere, watching. He made contact 3 hours later, not with a bullet or a threat, with a phone call. Lena's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she saw the text that came with it. Answer. Alone. She looked at Pierce, who was sitting across from her in the hotel room. He nodded, gestured for her to put it on speaker. She answered. Who is this? You know who? The voice was calm, measured, no accent, no emotion. Vincent Shaw. Very good. What do you want? I want you to stop. Stop what? Destroying lives, ruining careers. You think you're a hero, but you're just a wrecking ball. Lena's jaw tightened. I saved a kid. Your buddy Grimes arrested me for it. Everything after that is on you. Grimes was doing his job. His job was to protect people, not punish them for helping. Shaw laughed. It sounded hollow. You don't get it. You never did. This isn't about that kid. It's about order, about respecting the badge. You challenged that, and now you're paying the price. The only people paying a price are the ones who tried to kill me. Not yet, but they will, and so will you. The line went dead. Pierce was already on his phone calling the tech team. Did we get a trace? A pause, then he swore. Burner, bounced through 3 towers. He's moving. Lena set her phone down. He's not going to stop. No, but now he's made contact. That's a mistake. How? Because he's emotional, angry. People make bad decisions when they're angry, or dangerous ones. Pierce met her eyes. We'll catch him. I promise. But Lena didn't believe in promises anymore. Not after everything she'd been through. Promises were just words people said when they didn't know what else to offer. Oh. Shaw surfaced again 2 days later. Not with a call. With a body. Officer Daniel Marsh, one of the 5 arrested, was found dead in his cell. Apparent suicide, bedsheet around his neck, no note, but the autopsy told a different story. Bruising inconsistent with hanging, timing that didn't add up, and a guard who couldn't explain why he'd been away from his post for 20 minutes. Shaw got to him, Torres said, pacing Russo's office. Inside the jail. He's got reach. How is that possible? Lena asked. Corrupt guards, favors owed. These networks run deep. Russo leaned back in his chair. So Marsh is dead because he was going to talk. That's my guess. Which means Shaw's tying up loose ends. Torres nodded. And Lena's the biggest loose end of all. The room went quiet. Lena felt the weight of it settle over her like a blanket made of lead. She'd thought catching Deacon would break the network. Then she'd thought arresting the others would finish it. But Shaw was still out there, still dangerous, still coming. What do we do? She asked. Torres stopped pacing. We go public with Marsh's death, put pressure on the jail, force an investigation. That won't stop Shaw. No, but it'll make it harder for him to operate. What about Lena? Russo asked. She can't stay in hiding forever. She doesn't have to. We're close. Shaw's running out of options. He'll make a mistake. And if he doesn't? No one answered. Lena went back to the clinic 3 days later. Against Pierce's advice. Against Russo's advice. Against every rational part of her brain screaming that it was a bad idea. But she couldn't stay locked in a hotel room waiting for someone to save her. She was a nurse, and nurses didn't hide. Sarah nearly had a heart attack when Lena walked through the door. What are you doing here? Working? Lena, there's a man trying to kill you. I know, but he's going to try whether I'm here or hiding in a hotel. At least here I'm doing something useful. Sarah stared at her for a long moment. Then she sighed. You're insane. Probably. Fine. Room 2 needs an intake, and for the record, I think this is a terrible idea. Noted. Lena grabbed a clipboard and got to work. The first patient was an elderly woman with high blood pressure. The second was a kid with strep throat. The third was a man in his 50s who kept coughing and wouldn't make eye contact. Lena took his vitals. How long have you had the cough? Couple weeks? Any fever? Night sweats? No. She noted it on the chart. I'm going to have the doctor take a look. Wait here. She stepped out, closed the door. Something felt off. She couldn't place it. Just a tickle in the back of her mind saying wrong, wrong, wrong. She found Sarah in the hallway. The guy in room 3. Did he fill out paperwork? Yeah, why? Can I see it? Sarah handed over the intake form. Lena scanned it. Name, Robert Klein, address, local. Insurance. None. She pulled out her phone, texted Pierce. Need you to run a name. Robert Klein. About 55, says he lives on Marshall Street. The reply came fast. Why? Something feels off. Stay away from him. I'm sending a unit. Lena's stomach dropped. She walked back to room 3, knocked once, opened the door. The room was empty. She spun, looking down the hallway, saw the back exit door swinging shut. She ran, burst through the door into the alley behind the clinic, saw a figure moving toward a parked car. She didn't think, just shouted. Hey! The figure stopped, turned. It was Shaw. Lena knew it before he pulled the gun, knew it in the way he moved, the way he looked at her, the cold calculation in his eyes. He raised the weapon. Lena dove behind a dumpster as the first shot rang out. The metal clanged. She pressed herself against the brick wall, heart hammering, trying to remember if there was another exit, another way out, another shot, closer this time. She heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. You should have stayed hidden, Shaw called out. Would have been easier for both of us. Lena didn't answer. She scanned the alley. No other exits. Just a chain-link fence at the far end and Shaw between her and safety. Nothing personal, Shaw continued, but you're a liability. And liabilities get cleaned up. Lena grabbed a chunk of broken concrete from the ground, threw it as hard as she could toward the opposite end of the alley. It clattered against a trash can. Shaw fired twice in that direction. Lena bolted. She made it 5 steps before he turned. She heard the gunshot, felt something hot tear across her shoulder, stumbled but kept running, hit the fence, started climbing. Another shot. This one missed. She was over the fence, dropping to the other side, when sirens erupted from every direction. Police cars screeched into the alley. Officers poured out, weapons drawn. Drop it! Hands up! Shaw stood there, gun still raised, looking at Lena on the other side of the fence. You ruined everything, he said. You did that yourself. He smiled. Then he dropped the gun and put his hands up. Lena sat in the back of an ambulance while a paramedic cleaned the graze on her shoulder. It was shallow, just a flesh wound, but it hurt like hell. Pierce appeared at the doors. You okay? Define okay. Fair. He climbed in, sat across from her. That was incredibly stupid. I know. You could have been killed. I know. So why'd you do it? Lena looked at him. Because I'm tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of letting people like Shaw control my life. Pierce nodded slowly. Well, it worked. We've got him, and his phone, and enough evidence to bury the entire network. Is it over? Yeah, it's over. Lena closed her eyes, felt the adrenaline draining out of her, replaced by exhaustion so complete she could barely sit upright. The paramedic finished bandaging her shoulder and stepped out. You need to go to the hospital, Pierce said. I've spent enough time in hospitals. Lena, I'm fine. Just take me to Maya's. He didn't argue, just helped her out of the ambulance and into an unmarked car. They drove in silence. When they pulled up to Maya's building, Pierce turned to her. For what it's worth, you're the toughest person I've ever met. I don't feel tough. That's what makes it real. Maya opened the door before Lena could knock, took one look at the bandage and burst into tears. I'm okay, Lena said. You're shot. Barely. Maya pulled her inside, locked the door, led her to the couch. What happened? Lena told her. The clinic, Shaw, the alley, the fence. Maya listened without interrupting, hands gripping Lena's like she might disappear if she let go. When Lena finished, Maya just shook her head. I can't do this anymore. It's over. They caught him. That's what you said about Grimes and Deacon and all the others, but there's always someone else. Not this time. Shaw was the last one. How do you know? Because Pierce said so. And you believe him? Lena didn't answer, because she didn't know if she believed anyone anymore. Trust was something she'd lost along the way, like a wallet left on a bus, gone before she'd realized it was missing. The arrests made national news. All 8 members of the network, conspiracy, attempted murder, witness tampering. The police union tried to distance itself. The mayor called for reforms. The FBI announced a broader investigation into corruption in law enforcement, and Lena went back to work. Not at the clinic, not at Mercy General, somewhere new. A community health center in a neighborhood that needed it. The pay was worse. The hours were brutal. But the patients were grateful, and the work was honest, and for the first time in months, Lena felt like herself again. 3 weeks after Shaw's arrest, she got a letter. No return address. Just her name written in neat block letters. She opened it in her apartment, alone. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Handwritten. You think you won, but all you did was make yourself a target. There are more of us than you know. And we don't forget. No signature, no threat, just a promise. Lena read it twice. Then she set it on the table, pulled out her phone, and called Pierce. I got something you need to see, she said. What is it? A letter. From someone in the network. Shaw's locked up, so are the others. Then maybe there's someone we missed. Pierce was quiet for a moment. I'll send someone to pick it up. What if it's real? What if there are more? Then we find them, same as before. Lena hung up, stared at the letter, thought about Marcus and Tasha and the kid on the bike and everyone who'd ever needed help and didn't get it because someone was too afraid to act. She thought about the trial and the lawsuit and the safe houses and the alley, and then she thought about what Russo had said. You're not just fighting for yourself, you're fighting for everyone who comes after you. She picked up the letter, walked to the kitchen, and set it on fire over the sink, watched it curl and blacken, and turn to ash. If there were more, they'd come. And when they did, she'd be ready. Because she was Lena Carter, and she didn't quit. The grand jury convened 4 weeks later. Lena testified for 2 hours, walking them through everything. The canal, the arrest, the threats, the attacks. Shaw sitting in the alley with a gun pointed at her. The jury indicted all 8 members of the network on federal charges: conspiracy to commit murder, violation of civil rights, obstruction of justice. Shaw's trial was set for 6 months out. The others would follow. Russo called her after the indictment came down. We did it. Yeah. You don't sound happy. I'm tired, Jared. I know. But it's over. Really over this time. Is it? Yes. The letter was a bluff. We traced the postmark. It came from someone with no connection to the network, just a troll trying to scare you. Lena exhaled. You're sure? I'm sure. She hung up and sat on her couch, staring at the wall. It was over. Shaw was locked up. The network was dismantled. The letter was fake. It was over. So why didn't it feel like it? Mercy. General reached out again. Not Voss this time. The CEO offered Lena her job back with a promotion. Nurse supervisor, better pay, better hours. A formal apology from the board. Lena turned it down. I don't work for people who only respect me after I've proven them wrong, she told the CEO. I understand, but the offer stands if you change your mind. She didn't change her mind. Instead, she stayed at the community health center, took on more shifts, started teaching CPR classes on weekends, helped train new nurses on how to handle emergencies, and slowly, quietly, she started to rebuild. One patient at a time, one shift at a time, one day at a time. Marcus turned 10. Tasha threw him a party and invited Lena. She almost didn't go, but Maya convinced her. You saved his life, Maya said. The least you can do is eat some cake. So she went. She stood in Tasha's backyard watching Marcus run around with his friends, laughing, alive, completely unaware that he was the reason Lena's entire world had exploded. Tasha found her by the fence. Thank you for coming. Of course. He asks about you sometimes. Wants to know if you're okay. I'm okay. Tasha studied her. Are you? Lena thought about it. Getting there. Good. Tasha handed her a piece of cake. Because we need more people like you in the world. People who don't wait for permission to do the right thing. Lena took the cake. Sometimes I wonder if it was worth it. It was. Trust me. So, 6 months later, Shaw's trial began. Lena testified again. This time in front of a jury who'd heard every detail of the conspiracy, seen every email, watched every video. Shaw's lawyer tried to paint her as vindictive, as someone seeking revenge, as a troublemaker who'd brought this on herself. But the evidence didn't lie, and the jury didn't buy it. Guilty on all counts. 60 years. No parole. Lena sat in the gallery and watched Shaw get led away in handcuffs. He looked at her once. No anger, no defiance, just resignation. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed again. Lena stood at the microphone, flanked by Russo and Torres, and said the only thing that mattered. This isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. It's about making sure that no one, nurse, civilian, anyone, has to choose between doing the right thing and protecting themselves. We shouldn't have to be heroes. We should just be allowed to help. The questions came fast. She answered a few. Then she walked away, got in Maya's car, and let her sister drive her home. You okay? Maya asked. Yeah, I think I am. What now? Lena looked out the window. The city rolled past, normal, boring, safe. Now I go back to work. That's it? That's it. But 3 days later, Lena got a call from a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer. Then she saw the area code. Washington, D.C. She picked up. Hello? Ms. Carter, this is Senator Patricia Lawson. I chair the Senate Committee on Law Enforcement Oversight. I've been following your case. Lena sat down. Okay. I'd like you to testify before Congress, tell your story, help us draft legislation to protect civilians who render aid. We're calling it the Carter Act. Lena's breath caught. I'm sorry, what? The Carter Act, named after you. It would provide legal protections for anyone who acts in good faith to save a life. Make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. Lena closed her eyes, felt tears she didn't know she had left start to fall. Ms. Carter? I'm here. Will you do it? Lena thought about Marcus, about the canal, about the moment she'd decided to jump, about everything that had come after. Yes, she said. I'll do it. She testified in front of Congress 2 months later, told the same story she'd told a dozen times before, but this time it mattered in a different way. This time, people were listening not just to judge, but to act. The Carter Act passed unanimously 6 weeks later, signed into law by the president. Federal protections for Good Samaritans. Criminal penalties for law enforcement who violate those protections. Mandatory reporting of misconduct. Lena watched the signing from the gallery, Maya beside her, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not the fragile kind that breaks at the first sign of trouble. The real kind. The kind built on scars and survival and the stubborn refusal to give up. Afterward, at a reception, Senator Lawson found her. You did it. We did it. No, you did. This law exists because you refused to stay quiet, because you fought back, because you believed the system could be better. Well, Lena smiled. I'm not sure I believe that, but I'm glad it worked out. Lawson laughed. Well, either way, thank you. Lena went back to work the next day. Same clinic, same patients, same quiet, unglamorous work of keeping people alive. But now when she walked through the doors, she saw a plaque on the wall, in honor of Lena Carter, who reminds us that heroism is just helping when help is needed. She stared at it for a long time. Then Sarah appeared beside her. City Council put it up last week. Thought you should know. I'm not a hero. Too bad. That's what the plaque says. Lena shook her head. I'm just a nurse. Yeah, the best kind. That night, alone in her apartment, Lena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Her heart stopped. She stared at the screen. Then she opened it. Ms. Carter, this is Officer Jake Monroe. I'm a rookie cop in Boston. I just watched your testimony. I wanted to say thank you. You reminded me why I joined. And if I ever see someone like you helping someone in trouble, I'll protect them instead of arresting them. I promise. Lena read it 3 times. Then she typed back. That's all I ever wanted. Thank you. She set the phone down, looked at Marcus's drawings on her fridge, at the plaque Sarah had mentioned, at the life she'd rebuilt from the ashes of everything she'd lost. And for the first time since that night in the rain, Lena Carter felt like she'd won. Not because the bad guys were in prison, not because she had money or fame or recognition, but because she'd changed something, made the world a little bit safer for the next person who decided to jump into the water without asking permission. and that she thought was worth everything. But then her phone rang. Not a text. A call. Unknown number. Again. She hesitated, then answered. "Miss Carter?" A woman's voice, shaking, desperate. "Yes?" "My name is Diana Ross. I'm a paramedic in Ohio, and I just got arrested for saving someone's life." Lena's hand tightened on the phone. "Where are you right now?" "County Jail, Cleveland. They're saying I assaulted a patient, but I didn't. I was doing CPR. He was coding, and I had to—" Diana's voice broke. "I saw what happened to you. I saw the Carter Act. I thought things were supposed to be different now." "They are. The law's federal. It protects you." "Then why am I in handcuffs?" Lena closed her eyes. Because laws were only as good as the people enforcing them. Because change was slow and messy and never as complete as anyone wanted it to be. Because the fight was never really over. "What's the name of the officer who arrested you?" Lena asked. "Lieutenant Paul Hendricks. He said I should have waited for backup, that I endangered the patient by starting compressions before transport arrived." "That's insane. You're a paramedic." "I know, but he didn't care. He looked at me like I'd committed a crime. And now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm going to lose everything like you almost did." Lena stood, pacing her apartment. "Listen to me. You're not going to lose anything. Do you have a lawyer?" "Public defender. Haven't met him yet." "Okay. I'm going to call someone, a civil rights attorney. His name is Jared Russo. He handled my case. He'll take yours." "I can't afford—" "You won't have to. He'll do it pro bono. And I'm going to make some calls. Get this in front of people who can help." Diana was crying now. "Why would you do that for me?" "Because someone should have done it for me. And because this is exactly what the Carter Act was designed to prevent. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Just sit tight. Help is coming." Lena hung up and immediately called Russo. He answered on the second ring. "It's late," he said. "This better be good." "A paramedic in Cleveland just got arrested for doing CPR. They're charging her with assault," Russo swore. "The Carter Act's been law for 2 months. Apparently no one told Cleveland PD. Give me her name and location. I'll handle it." Lena gave him the details. "How fast can you get there?" "I'll be on a plane in the morning." "But Lena—" "What? This isn't your fight. You've done enough." "It's everyone's fight. That's the point." She hung up before he could argue. Stood in the middle of her apartment, heart racing, mind already 3 steps ahead. Diana Ross was about to become a headline, a test case. Proof that the Carter Act wasn't just words on paper. And Lena wasn't going to let her face it alone. "Chuck," she called Maya. "I need to go to Cleveland." "When?" "Tomorrow." "Lena, a paramedic got arrested for saving someone's life, same as me. I have to help." Maya sighed. "You're not going alone. I'll be fine." "That's not a question. I'm coming with you." They flew out the next morning. Russo met them at the airport, briefcase in hand, looking like he'd been awake for 24 hours straight. "Diana's arraignment is in 3 hours," he said. "I've already filed a motion to dismiss based on the Carter Act. Judge should throw it out immediately." "Should," Lena said. "Yeah, should." They drove to the courthouse. Reporters were already camped outside. Word had spread fast. Paramedic arrested after Carter Act passes. The optics were terrible. Exactly what Lena wanted. Inside, Diana was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of her. She was younger than Lena expected, maybe 28, dark circles under her eyes, shoulders hunched like she was trying to disappear. Russo leaned over. "That's her?" "Yeah." "She looks terrified." "Wouldn't you be?" The judge entered. Everyone stood. Diana's public defender, a kid who looked like he'd passed the bar last week, fumbled with his notes. Russo stepped forward. "Your Honor, Jared Russo, appearing on behalf of Ms. Ross. I'm filing a motion to dismiss all charges based on federal law." The prosecutor, a middle-aged woman with a severe bob, stood. "Your Honor, this case predates the Carter Act by 2 weeks. It doesn't apply." "The arrest happened 2 weeks ago. The arraignment is today. The law is in effect now," Russo countered. "Ms. Ross was performing her duties as a licensed paramedic. She acted in good faith to save a life. The Carter Act explicitly protects her." The judge looked at the paperwork. "Stmusum." Ross, you're a paramedic? Diana stood, voice shaking. Yes, Your Honor. And you were on duty when this incident occurred? Yes. What happened? Diana took a breath. We responded to a call. Male, 62, cardiac arrest. When we arrived, he had no pulse. I started compressions immediately. His wife was screaming. The scene was chaotic. I did what I was trained to do. And the patient? He survived. He's home now. The judge leaned back. So you saved his life? Yes. Then why are we here? The prosecutor stepped forward. Your Honor, Lieutenant Hendricks reported that Ms. Ross was aggressive, that she pushed family members aside, that she acted recklessly. Did you push anyone? The judge asked Diana. I moved his wife out of the way so I could reach him. She was trying to shake him awake. I needed space to work. The judge looked at the prosecutor. That sounds like standard protocol to me. Your Honor, motion granted. Charges dismissed. Ms. Ross, you're free to go. The gavel came down. Diana collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Russo turned to Lena and nodded. It was over before it had really started. Outside, reporters mobbed them. Russo handled the questions. Lena stayed back, watching Diana try to process what had just happened. I don't understand, Diana said. It's over? Just like that? Just like that, Lena said. But what about my job? The department suspended me. Russo will handle that too. You'll get reinstated. Back pay. Probably a settlement. Diana wiped her eyes. I thought my life was over. It's not. It's just starting. But Lena was wrong, because Lieutenant Paul Hendricks wasn't done. He held a press conference that afternoon, stood in front of cameras and microphones and accused Diana of grandstanding, said she'd put the patient at risk, said the Carter Act was being weaponized against law enforcement. We're trying to do our jobs, Hendricks said, and now we're being second-guessed by lawyers and activists who weren't there, who didn't see what we saw. This law is dangerous, and it's going to get people killed. Lena watched from her hotel room, jaw clenched. Maya sat beside her. He's lying, Maya said. Of course he's lying. So what do we do? Lena pulled out her phone, called Senator Lawson. I saw the press conference, Lawson said before Lena could speak. He's trying to undermine the law. We need to respond. Agreed. I'm scheduling a press conference for tomorrow. Can you be there? Where? D.C. I want you and Diana Ross standing beside me when I defend the Carter Act. Show the country what this law is really about. We'll be there. They flew to Washington that night. Russo came with them. Diana too, still shell-shocked but willing. The press conference was held on the Capitol steps. Dozens of reporters, cameras from every major network. Senator Lawson stood at the podium, flanked by Lena and Diana. 2 days ago, a paramedic named Diana Ross was arrested for doing her job, Lawson began. She saved a man's life, and for that, she was put in handcuffs. This is exactly why the Carter Act exists, to protect people who act in good faith to help others. She gestured to Diana. Ms. Ross, would you like to say a few words? Diana stepped forward, hands shaking. I've been a paramedic for 6 years. I've seen things most people will never see. I've held people's hands while they died. I've brought people back from the edge, and I've never once hesitated to do my job. But 2 weeks ago, I was told that doing my job made me a criminal, that saving someone's life was assault. She paused, voice breaking. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. And then Lena Carter called me, and she told me I wasn't alone, that there were people fighting for me, and now I'm standing here because of her, because she refused to let what happened to her happen to me. The cameras turned to Lena. She stepped up to the microphone. Lieutenant Hendricks said the Carter Act is dangerous. He's wrong. What's dangerous is living in a world where people are afraid to help each other, where a nurse can pull a drowning child from a car and get arrested, where a paramedic can save a heart attack victim and get charged with assault. That's the world we're trying to change, and we're not going to stop until every officer, every department, every person in this country understands that helping people is not a crime. The applause was deafening. Afterward, reporters shouted questions. Lena answered a few. Then she and Diana stepped aside while Russo handled the rest. Thank you, Diana said quietly. You would have done the same for me. I don't know if I would have been brave enough. Lena looked at her. You jumped into a chaotic scene and saved someone's life. You're already brave enough. Lieutenant Hendricks doubled down. Did more interviews. Accused Lena of having a vendetta against police. Said she was profiting off her lawsuit and using Diana as a pawn. But this time he miscalculated. Because while he was busy talking, the FBI was busy digging. And what they found was a pattern. 7 complaints against Hendricks in 5 years. All dismissed. All involving situations where he'd arrested civilians for rendering aid. Torres called Lena with the update. We're opening an investigation. Hendricks might be looking at federal charges. For what? Violation of civil rights, pattern, and practice. Same as Grimes and the others. Good. There's more. His department's under scrutiny too. Turns out he's not the only one pulling this. We've identified 3 other officers in Cleveland PD with similar complaints. Lena sat down. How many cases are we talking about? At least a dozen, maybe more. So it's not just isolated incidents. No, it's systemic. The story exploded. National news, congressional hearings. The Department of Justice launched a full investigation into Cleveland PD. Hendricks was placed on leave. So were the other officers. And then the survivors started coming forward. A teacher who'd used a fire extinguisher to put out a car fire and been arrested for destruction of property. A construction worker who'd pulled someone from a collapsed building and been charged with trespassing. A teenager who'd called 911 for a friend overdosing and been arrested for drug possession. All of them with the same story. They'd tried to help. They'd been punished. Russo set up a hotline. Within a week, they had over 200 calls. Within a month, they'd filed 17 lawsuits. And every single one cited the Carter Act. Lena found herself at the center of something she'd never intended to create. A movement. People reached out asking her to speak at events, to train first responders, to consult on policy. She said yes to some, no to most, because she was still a nurse, and nursing was what she knew. But she made exceptions, like when a medical school invited her to speak to first-year students about the ethics of emergency care. Or when a police academy asked her to train recruits on how to support civilians rendering aid instead of criminalizing them. She said yes to those, because they mattered. 6 months after Diana's arrest, the Department of Justice released its findings. Cleveland PD had engaged in a pattern of civil rights violations. 12 officers were terminated. Hendricks was indicted on federal charges. His trial was scheduled for the following spring. Lena was listed as a witness. You don't have to testify, Russo said. We've got enough without you. I want to. Why? Because he needs to hear it from me. Needs to know that what he did had consequences. Russo didn't argue. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Lena testified on day 12, walked through everything she'd been through, made it clear that Hendricks's actions weren't isolated, that they were part of a larger problem. The jury convicted him on all counts. 22 years. Lena sat in the gallery and watched him get led away. No satisfaction, no triumph, just exhaustion and a faint sense that maybe, finally, the balance had shifted. Thud. Lena turned 36 in the spring. Maya threw her a party. Small. Just family and a few close friends. Marcus and Tasha came. Diana flew in from Cleveland. Even Russo made an appearance, though he spent most of the night on his phone handling other cases. At one point, Tasha pulled Lena aside. I need to tell you something, Tasha said. What? Marcus wants to be a paramedic when he grows up. Because of Diana. Because of you. He wants to help people. Lena felt her throat tighten. That's good. It's more than good. It means what you did mattered. Not just for him, for everyone. Lena looked across the room at Marcus, who was showing Diana something on his phone. Both of them laughing. Both of them alive. Yeah, Lena said quietly. I guess it did. A year after the Carter Act passed, Lena received an invitation to the White House. The president wanted to honor her at a ceremony recognizing Americans who'd made extraordinary contributions to public service. She almost declined. But Maya convinced her. You've earned this, Maya said. Stop acting like you haven't. So Lena went. stood in a room full of people who'd done incredible things. Doctors who'd eradicated diseases, teachers who'd transformed schools, activists who'd changed laws, and she felt like an imposter. But when the president called her name, when she walked up to receive the medal, when he shook her hand and thanked her for her courage, something inside her shifted. She wasn't an imposter. She was someone who'd seen a problem and refused to look away. Someone who'd fought back even when it cost her everything. Someone who'd turned her pain into purpose. "Ms. Carter," the president said, "you remind us that heroism isn't about capes or headlines. It's about doing the right thing even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous, even when no one's watching. Thank you for showing us what that looks like." The room erupted in applause. Lena stood there, medal in hand, trying not to cry. Afterward, at the reception, a woman approached her, early 40s, scrubs visible under her jacket. "I'm an ER nurse in Atlanta," the woman said. "And last month I saw a car accident on my way home from work. I stopped, helped, and I didn't hesitate because I knew the Carter Act had my back, so thank you." "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do, because before you, I might have kept driving, and someone might have died." Lena nodded, not trusting herself to speak. The woman left. Others came up. More stories, more gratitude, more proof that what she'd been through had changed something real. Lena didn't go back to the community health center, not because she didn't care, but because Russo called with a different opportunity. "I'm starting a nonprofit," he said, "legal defense for people who get punished for helping others. I want you to run the outreach program." "I'm a nurse, not a lawyer." "Exactly. You understand what these people are going through. You can connect with them in ways I never could." Lena thought about it. What would the job entail? Training, public speaking, connecting survivors with resources, building a network of people who refuse to be intimidated into silence. Sounds exhausting. It will be, but you're good at exhausting. She laughed. "When do I start?" "Tomorrow." "Give me a week." The nonprofit launched 3 months later. They called it the Carter Initiative. Lena hated the name, but Russo insisted. "People need to know who's behind this," he said. "Your name means something. It means I jumped into a canal and got arrested. It means you fought back and won. Don't underestimate that." The initiative handled over 50 cases in the first year. Nurses, paramedics, teachers, bystanders, all of them punished for trying to help, all of them defended by Russo's team, all of them supported by Lena's outreach. They won most of the cases, lost a few, but even the losses led to appeals, policy changes, departmental reforms. The work was brutal, emotional, consuming, but it mattered in ways that treating patients never quite had, because every case they won meant one less person had to go through what Lena had gone through. 2 years after the Carter Act passed, Lena received a letter. Not a threat this time, an invitation. The American Nurses Association wanted to honor her with their highest award for advocacy. The ceremony was in Boston. Lena brought Maya. Standing on stage, looking out at thousands of nurses, Lena felt something she hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not the arrogant kind, the quiet kind. The kind that came from knowing she'd taken the worst thing that had ever happened to her and turned it into something that helped other people. "I didn't plan any of this," Lena said into the microphone. "I just saw a kid drowning and I acted. Everything after that was survival, but somewhere along the way, survival turned into something bigger. It turned into a fight. Not just for me, for everyone who's ever been punished for doing the right thing." She paused, scanning the crowd. "I'm not special. I'm just a nurse who refused to quit. And if you take nothing else from my story, take this. When you see someone who needs help, help them. Don't wait for permission. Don't worry about the consequences. Just act. Because the world needs more people who are willing to jump into the water without asking if it's allowed." The applause was thunderous. Lena stepped back, medal in hand, and let the noise wash over her. 3 years after the Carter Act passed, Lena stood in front of a Senate committee again, this time to advocate for expanding the law to include international protections. Good Samaritan laws shouldn't stop at borders, she told the committee. A nurse in Canada should have the same protections as a nurse in Texas. A paramedic in the UK should be just as safe as one in California. We need a global standard. Senator Lawson nodded. We're working on it, but these things take time. I know. But every day we wait, someone else is getting punished for helping. We can't afford to wait. The committee passed the proposal. It went to the floor. Passed there too. Within a year, the Carter Act had been adopted by 12 countries. Lena watched the news from her office, Maya beside her. You did it, Maya said. You actually changed the world. We changed the world. Don't be modest. This was you. Lena smiled. Okay, maybe a little bit me. On the 5th anniversary of Marcus's rescue, Lena returned to the canal. Not for publicity, not for a ceremony, just for herself. She stood at the spot where the SUV had gone in, hands in her pockets, watching the water flow past. It looked different now, quieter, less menacing. You gonna jump in again? Lena turned. Tasha was standing behind her, Marcus beside her. He was 15 now, tall, confident, completely unaware how close he'd come to not existing. Not today, Lena said. Good. Once was enough. Tasha walked over, stood beside her. He wanted to come, to see where it happened. Marcus stepped forward, looking at the water. This is it? Yeah. It doesn't look that deep. It was deep enough. He nodded, processing. Then he looked at Lena. Why'd you do it? Do what? Jump in. You didn't know me. You could have died. Lena thought about it. Because I'm a nurse, and nurses don't walk away when someone needs help. Even if it costs you everything? Even then, Marcus smiled. Then I'm going to be a nurse too. Tasha laughed. Last week you wanted to be a paramedic. I can be both. Lena put a hand on his shoulder. You can be whatever you want. Just promise me one thing. What? When you see someone who needs help, don't hesitate. Don't second guess. Just act, because you might be the only chance they have. I promise. Gus. Lena stepped down from the Carter Initiative 5 years after it launched. Not because she was done, but because it was time to let someone else lead. Diana Ross took over. She'd become one of the initiative's most vocal advocates, traveling the country, training first responders, fighting for the people who couldn't fight for themselves. You sure about this? Diana asked when Lena told her. I'm sure. This was never supposed to be about me. It's about the work. And you're the right person to do it. What are you going to do? Go back to nursing. That's where I started. That's where I belong. Diana hugged her. Thank you for everything. Thank you for carrying it forward. Lena went back to work at a hospital. Not Mercy General, a smaller place across town. Less prestige. More need. She worked night shifts, took the cases no one else wanted, saved lives without fanfare or recognition, and she was happy. One night, 3 months into her new job, a code came in. Multi-car accident. Multiple casualties. All hands on deck. Lena scrubbed in, joined the trauma team, and worked for 6 straight hours. By the time the last patient was stabilized, the sun was coming up. She stood in the hallway, scrubs covered in blood, exhausted beyond measure. A young nurse, couldn't have been more than 25, walked past, saw her, stopped. You're Lena Carter. Yeah. I read about you in nursing school. You're the reason I'm here. Lena blinked. What? Your story. What you went through. It made me realize that nursing isn't just a job. It's a calling, and I wanted to be part of that. The young nurse walked away. Lena stood there, staring after her, feeling something warm and unnameable settle in her chest. She'd spent so long fighting, so long surviving, so long trying to prove that what she'd done was right. And now, finally, she didn't need to prove anything, because the proof was everywhere, in the laws that protected people like her, in the lives that had been saved because someone didn't hesitate, in the young nurses who looked at her story and saw inspiration instead of tragedy. She jumped into the water because a child was drowning. And in doing so, she'd started something that would outlive her. That, Lena thought as she headed to the locker room to change, was enough. 10 years after the night at the canal, Lena received an invitation to speak at Marcus's college graduation. He was valedictorian, pre-med. on his way to becoming the nurse he'd promised he'd be. She sat in the audience, Maya beside her, and watched him walk across the stage. When he gave his speech, he talked about second chances, about the people who'd given him his, about the woman who jumped into the water without thinking twice. "I'm alive because someone decided my life was worth saving," Marcus said, looking directly at Lena. "And now it's my turn to do the same for someone else." The crowd erupted. Lena didn't even try to hold back the tears. Afterward, at the reception, Marcus found her. "Thanks for coming. Wouldn't have missed it. I meant what I said, about you." "I know." He smiled. "I start at Johns Hopkins in the fall. Emergency medicine. They're lucky to have you. I learned from the best." Lena hugged him. "You're going to save a lot of lives, Marcus. Because you saved mine." Lena Carter worked as a nurse until she was 63. Then she retired. Not because she had to, but because her hands started shaking and her back couldn't handle 12-hour shifts anymore. She spent her retirement teaching, guest lectures at nursing schools, training sessions for paramedics, workshops for police departments on how to support civilians rendering aid. The Carter Act was still law, still protecting people, still saving lives. And every year on the anniversary of Marcus's rescue, Lena received letters, hundreds of them, from nurses and paramedics and bystanders who'd acted because the law had their back, who'd saved lives because they knew they wouldn't be punished for it. She kept every single one. On her 70th birthday, Maya threw her a party. Marcus was there. Tasha, Diana, Russo, Senator Lawson, even Officer Monroe, the rookie cop from Boston who'd sent that text all those years ago. He'd become a lieutenant, reformed his entire department's approach to civilian aid. "You changed everything," he told Lena. "You know that, right?" "I jumped into a canal." "You jumped into a canal and refused to apologize for it. That's what changed everything." Lena looked around the room, at the people whose lives she'd touched, at the movement she'd started without meaning to, at the proof that one person acting in good faith could shift the world on its axis. "I'd do it again," she said. "I know you would. That's what makes you who you are." Lena Carter lived to be 84. She died peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by family, after a life spent doing exactly what she'd always done, helping people. Her obituary made national news. The president released a statement. So did the American Nurses Association. So did every major medical organization in the country. But the tribute that mattered most came from Marcus Bennett. Now Dr. Marcus Bennett, chief of emergency medicine at a major hospital. He spoke at her funeral. "Lena Carter saved my life when I was 8 years old," he said. "And in doing so, she saved thousands of others. Because she taught us that helping people isn't something you do when it's convenient. It's something you do when it's necessary. And she proved that the cost of doing the right thing is always worth paying." He paused, voice breaking. "I'm standing here today because she didn't hesitate, because she saw a child drowning and she acted. And I've spent my entire career trying to live up to that example, to be the kind of person who doesn't wait for permission, who doesn't worry about the consequences, who just helps." He looked at the crowd. That's her legacy, not the lawsuits or the laws or the headlines, but the countless people who are alive today because someone, somewhere, decided to act. Because they knew that Lena Carter had their back, that the system would protect them instead of punish them. He wiped his eyes. "Thank you, Lena, for jumping, for fighting, for refusing to quit. You saved more lives than you'll ever know." Years later, a statue was erected at the canal. Bronze, life-sized, a woman pulling a child from the water. The plaque read, "Lena Carter, nurse, hero, proof that one person can change the world." And every day people walked past it. Some stopped to read the inscription. Some took photos. Some stood there for a moment, thinking about the woman who jumped into the water without asking if it was allowed. And somewhere, in hospitals and ambulances and on street corners across the country, people kept acting, kept helping, kept refusing to walk away when someone needed them, because Lena Carter had shown them it was possible. And that was the most powerful legacy of all.